Jack is an experienced media practitioner, author, and experienced educator. He has positively impacted thousands of students in his instructional roles at Brigham Young University and Brigham Young University, Idaho, which includes his current position as a professor of marketing in the Department of Marketing, where he recently launched a social media emphasis, which is becoming one of the fastest growing on campus. His experience in academia is complemented by several corporate leadership positions. LaBaugh worked as director of marketing and public relations for a healthcare services company and as an editorial director for a multi-billion-dollar consumer healthcare corporation. Jack is just down the road from us. I think he has about half of Stukin employees on a text message, and it's fun to get live feedback from him in his classroom, and he's happy to share that with us. And so we have a great time with Jack. We're excited to have him this morning kick things off. It's going to be fantastic. So without any further ado, let's turn the time over to Jack and start day 3 off.
All right, good morning. Sorry, I was on mute and didn't start my video. That's the story of my life with Zoom. We just went back into the classroom 2 days ago for the first time since COVID, and it is so great to not be on Zoom, but it's great to be with everybody today. And there's just a correlation with Stukin in their conference. When we were in West Yellowstone, it snowed. If it was in Las Vegas this year, it was like 111 there. And in Idaho Falls, I've had a heat wave of 98 to 100 degrees. So I'm happy to meet with you guys on Zoom today. Let me share my screen. And so today what I want to do is I want to just share with you some of the ideas that I've used in my class. Let me talk about case studies and how I've incorporated case studies. But before that, just here's a picture of my family. My oldest son on the right-hand side, he is interning at Stukin right now. And I think I have about half of the Stukin employees that were my former students. So as Trevor said, it's fun to get to know them and then watch them leave the classroom and then help me out as I struggle sometimes in the simulation, and they come to my rescue all of the time. So today, here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Generation Z, kind of my struggle with Generation Z, why I chose Mimic, and then why I decided to incorporate case studies as part of my pedagogical part of the classroom as I teach. Talk about the Buhi business, how I execute it, and then I'll take a few questions. And so this is really just a discovery of what I've done, and I want to share it with you, and it's available for you. And everything that I have today, I will share and make public. And I hope that we can, together as colleagues, be able to create a place where we can go and share like-minded ideas in the classroom. And I talked to Stu yesterday, and he showed me a place, and I'm going to stick those documents there, but you can also email me. And my email address is my last name, LA, B as in boy, AUGHJ @byui.edu. And Trevor, you might be able to throw that in the chat. Okay, so when I came out of corporate America, I thought that I knew students. I had been in education for more than 20 years, and I was a journalism public relations major, and I really have stayed true to my profession. And I left as the communications director for this multi-billion-dollar company, and I went to the classroom, and the students had changed. And the things that I knew, I didn't know anymore. And so I really had to go in and dive in to do some research on Generation Z. And what I found is that they're digitally native. And so walking into a classroom where I used to have paper handouts and a textbook and a paper copy of the syllabus, I just looked like I was so out of touch. And then I came to realize that this Digital Z, they've never experienced anything but the internet. They don't know the world before smartphones. And then they want education. Generation Z is more likely to be enrolled in college and to have a college educated parent than millennials. And that 57% of Generation Z goes to college. And so as I started to look at this, I started to think, well, I got to change what I'm doing. And then I started looking at their social media habits. And here, this is the Pew Research Center. 93%, or I'm sorry, 16 to 17% are on YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. And then on Twitter. And then I realized I was on the wrong social platforms. So I had to really go back and try to figure out what Generation Z was. And I heard a greatest quote the other day, and I didn't put it in the presentation, but when Mike Krzyzewski, the Duke basketball coach, announced his retirement, he was asked by a reporter how he stayed in touch with his players. And he said that the principles of his program have never changed, but the way that he communicates has continued to evolve and changed. And he says that he has to go and find out and understand what his players are doing, the music they're listening to, the shoes they're wearing, what they're watching on Netflix, what they're streaming. And so he can understand who they are and what they're consuming, so he can communicate better to them. And so what we're finding that this is a very social engaged audience. So as we go through this, I want to talk about in the classroom. Generation Z, they love Facebook. They want to know why we're doing things. And so in my course, for every assignment, I tell them exactly why we're doing it and how it relates to what they're doing or what they will be doing in their careers. They love technology and they love to interact through technology. But the thing that I found is that in the bottom here, it says the simulations, especially virtuality simulations, may prove to prepare Generation Z for future careers. And this is really important in healthcare, but I also think that it's extremely important in business and in marketing. And marketing, and Stu Kent has done an incredible job creating these simulations. So we can really experiment and teach students and teach them how to do things. And so if they fail, they can fail really, really fast. And so as I was going out there to find a software for a class, I kept looking and there was nothing there. And the problem that I had is that I was trying to incorporate and build a social media program, and I wanted to get into data and to be able to take over accounts, but I didn't feel comfortable going to the university and asking the university to let me have some of their data and let me have control of some of their social media platforms, and then to have my students participate in those. Because I was worried, first of all, about the data. If my students did something wrong with the data, then I'd be held liable for it. And so then Stu came out with the simulation, and I was one of the very first adopters of the simulation. And I loved it because it was a sandbox and it let me experiment, to let my students go in and run the scenarios and make the post, to look at the analytics. And so it was everything that I ever imagined that I needed. And if we look at what the data is saying, second, I got to move some things around here on my screen. In 2021, Stu Kent did a survey, and they asked, I think it was 4,000 college students, do you prefer courses that use a simulation? And 84.25% of all students responded that they do. And students who indicated they have only used a Stu Kent simulation were 87%. And students who indicated they have never used a Stu Kent simulation were 77.8%. So this is pretty powerful data in that students want simulations. The next question, students who have never used a simulation, if presented with the option, 73.6% said they would choose the course that does use a simulation. So you can see that digital trend starting to occur with the data. And then here's two more. It indicates how much you agree with the following statements. Classes that use a simulation are more fun than classes that do not. So you look at the respondents here, 4.04, students who indicated they only used the StuCamp, 4.15, and students that indicated they've never used a student simulation, 3.82. And then indicate how much you agree with the following statements. Simulations were effective in preparing you for opportunities outside the classroom. So strongly disagree 1, strongly agree 5, the 3.8, 3.9, and 3.52. All right, then indicate how much you agree or disagree with the following statement. Simulations were effective in preparing you for opportunities outside the classroom. Again, strongly disagree is 1, strongly agree is 5. We look at here at 3.91, 3.86, 3.8, and 3.9. Did the simulation improve your confidence level and knowledge of the subject? Yes, 91.46%, with an average rating of 90. And so you can see that the students are just, they want this, and they're just craving this digital experience in the classroom. And so as I was looking at the simulation, and they were running the simulation, and I was looking at the data, and I was looking at the performance, I said, is there something else that I can do to engage the students? Because they're working really, really hard in the simulation, but in our course outcomes at our university, they really want us to help students get jobs. That's one of the outcomes that I measured on, is the percentage of students that have jobs at graduation. And then we track our alumni. And we went from like 60.4% up into the 80s in the last year. And I credit the simulations that we're using in our classrooms for that experience, for students are able to go and get jobs. And so I was thinking, there's something else I can do to engage the students, to bring energetic Jill and Seaside Sally to life. And I came across this newspaper article one day, and it had this interesting dilemma. And as a former public relations practitioner, I thought, well, this was interesting. Could I take this dilemma and put this to life in my simulation? So I created an assignment outside, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute. And then I got my brain rolling about what else could I do outside of the simulation to bring it to life. And so this simulation, I'm just going to show you right here. This is what it looks like, and I'll give you a copy of it. You might want to change the names in it. It's about Taylor Swift, and I wrote it, but at the very bottom here, you see this quote. It says, I'm an inmate at the Yingsong prison in China. Can't say that. I work 14 hours a day with no bathroom or rest breaks, continue working overtime until midnight, and whoever doesn't finish their work will be beaten by the boohee bag. So I added the boohee part of it. Our meals are without oil, salt, nutritional value. All people are malnourished. I get paid only 200 yen a month. I am sick and need medicine. The cost of deducted from my salary. We're suffering from the most inhumane treatment and need your help. Please help us. So that's a real quote. And I found it was a story from Walmart. There was a customer from Walmart that was shopping, and inside this purse was this note. So I took that note and I built a case study. And it started with, I was watching the Billboard Music Awards, and Taylor Swift was launching a new video. And I'm fascinated because I tell my students, if they want to be successful in social media, that they should follow Taylor Swift and see what Taylor's people are doing on social media, because I feel like they're really ahead of the curve. And they do a really good job of engaging the audience. And this is the point in time when Taylor Swift, she had cleared her Instagram followers, and she just wiped them out and she started over. And she did this campaign. And so I teach this unit on telling stories and how to engage relevant integrated marketing examples into campaigns. And so as I did this, there was this whole buildup of the Billboard Music Awards, and this was Taylor Swift, and there was a countdown. And then she made this video, and she had 625 million views in the first 24 hours. And then she posted content of a promotion, never before heard live rehearsal audio for the Billboard Music Awards, available only in the online store. And so I started to show my students some content, and I prepped them with this stuff prior to class. And then I like to have fun with my class. If you would ask the student employees, I probably have more fun than I should. But Taylor Swift had this song called Reputation, and the lyrics are, it has the words bad reputation. So when I teach this, I come into class and I have the music playing when I walk into class, and the students look at me like I'm crazy. But I'm just setting it up. And so when I give them the assignment, they've had these 3 slides that go out prior, building it up. So here's Taylor Swift walking out on stage. And then the greatest thing happened when I was watching this is these dancers came out and they had bags, like handbags, and they were all different colors. So I have a picture, but I don't have it here. But I took a Boohee logo and I photoshopped it on the bag. And so I started sending these examples out. And then during the simulation, and this is towards midterm, you can do it whenever you want, but I want my students to really feel what it looks like and what it feels like to work in corporate America, especially in public relations and marketing, because they think everything's fun. I go to work, I can just post happy things on social media and life is going to be great. Well, it's not so great some of the times. So during one of the weeks when they're really, really busy, and the students don't like me when I do this, but I drop an email about 2 o'clock in the morning. And in this email is this document right here. And I make sure that if we use Canvas at our university, but I'll also make sure that it gets posted in Canvas, and I'll send an alert out. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, they get this email and they open it up in the morning as they're getting ready for class. And I usually will do this on a day where I don't have class. And I have given some clues in the beginning of the week about some things that we're going to talk about. And I talk a little bit about what happens for crisis management on day 1 of my lecture. And then I just, I talk a little bit about, I was watching this example, and I kind of build it up as if, I was really doing this right now. But I talk about, I was online and I was watching the Billboard Music Awards and look at these great examples of what Taylor Swift is doing. And I kind of tell the story about how successful. I may watch the video in class, and I just will use this as like cool things of the week that I found on social media. And this is where I kind of introduce where you follow Taylor Swift and how great their social media team is. And I build it up. We talk about crisis communications and what happens. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, I send this email out. And so it says, a Nashville celebrity made a stunning discovery in a Boohee purse she bought at a Brentwood department store. A note apparently written by a desperate prisoner in China. Megastar. So I had to go in and change the names. I'm sorry, there's a mistake in here. So it should say megastar Taylor Swift found a written in Chinese, tucked inside a zipper compartment of a Boohee bag she purchased at the mall. Fox News, CNN, and Entertainment reported. Fox News and CNN devoted wall-to-wall coverage in Boohee and their alleged shady business practices and human rights violations. The story went viral when, it should say, Swift posted the translated note along with a picture of her bag with the Boohee logo placed prominently in her Instagram and Facebook accounts, which have a combined reach of 174 million followers. So I talk about her followers and how when she erased her followers on Instagram, that how many hundreds of millions that she got within the first 24 hours. And then I go into her Instagram account and see where it's currently at. Because that's part of the problem is her following. Swift, okay, so then there's the quote. And then I give them the assignment that they have to solve the case. And in the case, they have to come prepared with a complete presentation to me of what they're going to do. And so prior to this, I map out a whole lesson on strategic crisis communication. And I will map out of how like Tylenol solved their case. And then when they had the Tylenol capsules back in the 80s. And I'll just talk about getting in front of the corporation, what the response is going to be, what the press release is going to look like. So I make them write a press release. because my students in my other classes don't get it. And I find that marketing students now, sometimes in companies can become the face of the company because they write well, they're engaged, they're Generation Z. And so I make them do it. And then I also show the Domino's Pizza example of how they solved the case when Domino's Pizza had their employees that were sneezing and doing disgusting things in the pizza stores, and how Domino's walked through the response. So I go step by step. So I show them how to solve it. And then I talk to them about how you talk in front of a camera. So besides a press release, they do a strategy, as Boohee, what are we going to do to save the company? And then I make them go out on camera and film themselves with a response within the first, so the response takes place within the first 15 minutes. And it's interesting to see how the students do the response, how they dress, how they interact, where they're at when they film it. I have some students that get really creative and go places. And then I have some students that are on Zoom and they're sitting in their apartment with who knows what behind them. Ultimate Zoom pet peeve. I could tell you the crazy things that I've seen in students' apartments. That's a discussion for a different day. But they go out and they film a response, and it's like the first 15-second response of what we're going to do for Boohee. I'm working with Boohee, and this is what we're doing, and this is the plan. So I got a press release. I have a social media strategy. I make them do examples of posts that they produced. And so I make them go into Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and create a post, include a picture. Then I have them take a screenshot of that and then have them delete it so they don't post it for real. And then they show me all of the examples of the posts that they have. They include the video that they've made and then a strategic plan. And I make them do that within the first 24 hours. So I drop this at 2 in the morning and they have until midnight to get it done. And it totally disrupts their day and they hate you for it. But at the end, it's a great experiment for them because it shows what happens when bad things happen to a great company like Boohee, and it brings it to life. And you can take the scenarios within Boohee and you could target like energetic Jill and how she reacted to the video. She was watching this and she was outraged. And you can go in and look at the who energetic Jill is and in the personas, and you can make little snippets about energetic Jill, and you can do whatever you want, and you can have so much fun with this. And I continue to evolve this every semester. I got to go in and take Taylor Swift out of it because I'm afraid that they may come after me, because I'm afraid that some student's going to go in there and accidentally post it and Taylor's going to be related to it. So I might change it to Sailor Slow, because Taylor's Sailor and then Swift is slow. But you can do whatever you have to do with it. But this is just an idea of how I generated this. And so this is a unit outside. I do it in week like 6 or 7 when they're really busy. And so it's a whole unit outside of what is already contained in Boohee. Then as I got rolling and started looking at this case, it evolved into another idea that I had. So from the case evolved, was there a way that I could include cases, because we know that the data with cases along with simulations is a knockout punch for students. And so I really wanted to take the business of Boohee and I wanted to bring it to life, because I learned from this case study that my students were completely engaged. They hated it at first, but they started to have fun with it, and the lights kind of went on of, wow, this is what it's going to be like in corporate America. So then the next semester, I went back to the drawing board. My students were doing great. I got ideas. I got feedback from my students. I asked them what they liked, what they didn't like about the simulation. And I live right down the street from Stu Kent. And so I will call down there and they'll talk to Stu and Trevor. And I'm like, hey, this is what they like, what they don't like. What do you think about this? So the idea came up with, what if I created Boohee as a business and brought the entire business to life over a semester? And if I made my students create a portfolio, and by the end of the semester, that they could walk into an employer's office with a complete portfolio and show how they took this business to life, how they treated it like a real business. and they could walk through and they could show all of the examples of everything that they did. And then I could create an assignment at the end where I could bring it to life and have the students report back to me on what they did with the data, what the data meant. So instead of just going in and reading the examples that are in the simulation, that are fantastic. And I find if the students don't read those examples of like the days and the times to post, and the other examples they have in there, the readings, and if they don't dig deeper into those readings, then it's not a good experience for them. So I really force my hand to make my students dive really, really, really deep. And so this was the idea born out of the crisis scenario and the crisis situation. So at the beginning of the semester on day one, I walk in and I treat them like they're really employees of Buhi. And that's the relationship I have with my students. You really work at this company, and I'm going to treat you as if I'm the CEO of the company, and I'm going to hold you accountable. And so I go in and I show this letter, and I'm going to give this to you, and you can edit it and you can do whatever you want with it. I had to change some of the stuff at the bottom, which I don't have here in my header. I'm a big Chicago Cubs fan, and I put the phone number and address of Wrigley Field as the headquarters of Buhi. I wanted to see if anybody would call it, and they called it. So I changed it out. I think the phone number is still the same, but that was funny to me to see how engaged they really were with it. So here's a letter that I give out, and this is part of the syllabus. And as soon as I'm done with the syllabus, I say, okay, this is a real business. You're going to see in this simulation, it may be a simulation for you, but for you, it's real life. And what we're going to do this semester is real. And so we go through this, and I give them this letter, and it says, Dear Social Media Marketing Manager, I have the Buhi letterhead up here. It says the Buhi Board of Directors has requested a final review of your semester's work. In this activity, you'll do the following. Looks like I have a little spacing there. It says you're going to create a portfolio of your work. You'll include a formal report of your KPIs and a detailed explanation of what you learned from the data. Export the CSV file and look for what posts are driving the most significant reach. Look for what posts are driving the greatest conversations. Here are some of the questions you might consider. Look at the data and report on the data-driven decisions you made and the result you achieved. Look at the response and the odd number rounds of discussion. So then I go in and I talk to them about the even rounds where you're posting in the odds. And then I go into the simulation and I create a dummy student and I walk them through it step by step. And so I show them where the CSV files are located, and I kind of give them an idea of what they're going to do. And I talk to them right there about, well, here's the KPIs, here's what you're going to be required, here's what you're going to be graded on. And I walk through the simulation, the syllabus in this letter, as if it's just an actual business. And as I go through it, I show them the pieces of it. And so it says you also include the following reports with a brief explanation of what you learned and how it will help grow your business. I'll share these files with you. And so in it, I make them include the content analysis, the part about influencers, ad targeting, their editorial calendar. And so it's just not that I'm looking at the calendars. I make them do a calendar for every week that they have posts. And in that calendar, I have the date, the time, the target audience, the actual post. I have them take a picture of what the post actually looks like. So I make them take the picture out of the simulation, put it in Facebook, Twitter, have them take a screenshot of it and include it there so I can see what it really looks like, the hashtags, and I have a whole dashboard for the content calendar. So that's included. And so I have these individual assignments. So these are individual assignments that you're going to see within the simulation, but I show them that it's just not an assignment, that the data is just not there. I make them go in and take pictures of all of the charts and graphs and week by week so they can tell the story. So after this, they do this, I show this on day one, and then I refer back to this document all the time. They like day one, here's your final. But your final is going to be a compilation of what you do this semester. So as you go week by week, export these files, do the reports, tell a story, and include that in part of your portfolio. And then at the end, I make them do a compilation of where they went from and where they ended, what were the greatest posts, what worked, what didn't work. And then at that point, at the end of the semester, I go and I talk about paid and organic. And you can do this earlier in the semester, but this is another unit that I've created outside, and it kind of goes in line with the case study. But I make them go out and do a paid and organic video post where they have to create a post for them to go and experiment with creating the content. And I've had some pretty cool things, but I'll just show you one of them. All right, so that's one of the video posts. I make them do, it's another assignment outside, and then I make them do a whole report on who the target audience is, when they're gonna post it, how they're gonna post it, and what the strategy is behind it. And then at the end of the semester, after they've done all of this work and they're tired and they're exhausted, I make them do a report to the board of directors. And I'm the board of directors, and what I do is I have 3 or 4 questions, and I'll email them out about 4 or 5 days before, and they have to answer those questions. And then they go and they do a recording session. And at the end of this top Boohee document here in this tier, there's a whole thing about the board of directors and what you need. And I'll put that in, I'll send that to you as well. And I'm just going, I know I'm out of time. I'm just going to quickly show you just kind of what this looks like.
Hi, how's everyone doing? We're excited that you're out here. We've really been looking forward to showing you the goals and the outcomes of the third quarter. And so we're really glad that you made your way out here. And we hope, we know that you're going to like what you hear, what happened here at Boohee. So first we want to show you the goals from the CMO that he had given us for this third
So
quarter.
you can see they've been in the
goal
beginning of
was
the
to spend your entire budget.
simulation
The
to look
second
at
was
these
to spend
outcomes.
your budget wisely.
And I'll just click through here and I can send this to you, but
one thing that we've seen that has been the most successful as far as increasing our sales has been video. Video is a crucial part in our marketing plan. As you can see here, this Instagram Snapchat or screenshot, this Instagram screenshot is a screenshot of a video that.
Okay, so you get the idea. So this is a whole return and report. It's in 8 to 10 minutes. I have them record it with whatever they want. They can do a Zoom recording. I let them pick because they're more tech savvy to do this. And I know that this works because I had one student, and she's my rock star student, but she was number 5 out of 17,000 applications for internships at Disney World. And she got one of the 5. And she went to Disney World, and through all of her marketing classes, she was really, really able to be successful. She basically took over the Mickey's Halloween party, and I don't have the actual, I have the video, but I'm not going to show it to you. But she did this whole video with their team at Disney, and it was really, really cool stuff what they did at the Haunted Mansion. And she just left me this quote. She says, during my internship on the marketing strategy team at Walt Disney World, we would meet regularly with the social media team to review metrics of running campaigns and determine what changes, if any, needed to be made. The simulation I participated in gave me metrics after each round that I was able to learn from to improve my marketing. This was helpful when I saw similar data and when I was able to understand the metrics in front of me and work with the team to drive success. I enjoy trial and error learning, and the simulation gave me the opportunity to learn in that style and make me a better marketer. So I love StuKent so much, and I'm so grateful that they have this conference. I'm grateful that we can get together with like-minded people. I'm hoping that we can meet together in person next year. And I'm going to continue to evolve what I do in the classroom because it's important. Like Mike Krzyzewski said, the outcomes of my courses never change, but the way I communicate and adapt to the students will always change. So get to know your students outside of class. Find out what they're doing, what they're watching, what trends, and question them and dig deep and ask them those things so you can incorporate it into your class to make it more engaging with them. So you can really do things to bring the simulation to life for them so they can go and really talk to energetic Jill through a video post or a chat or an Instagram video or in Reels. And I think that you'll find that it's highly successful and your outcomes will improve in your course. Okay, so that's it. I see some questions. Let me just look at these and then I'll turn it over to Stu Kent. Let's see. Trevor in his blue shirt.
Would you like me to read off some of the questions that
Oh
came
yeah,
in?
go ahead.
Yeah, that was awesome presentation. I loved getting to see how our professors utilize the Bowie company and brand and do it in their own classes. So that was really fun to see. So the first question that came in was from Adam. Did you have the crisis as a graded assignment? What if a student missed the email at 2 a.m. or didn't see it until the evening?
Yes, it is a graded assignment. And from my corporate background, I'm kind of mean when it comes to this. It's kind of too bad, so sad, because I have the conversation that you better check your email all the time, because I will give hints every week. And at the beginning of the semester, I have a discussion about this is a real business, and you're going to get correspondence from Backpack Bob, I think is what I named myself. And you're responsible at all hours of the day to understand and to receive those messages. And so I tell them to check in Canvas and to check your emails every morning, because there may be something that's coming that you're going to be held accountable for. I don't tell them what I'm doing or the date and the time, but I reiterate it week after week after week. And if they miss it, it's too bad, because in corporate America, it just won't be acceptable. And I kind of draw a really hard line there.
That's a pretty good rule. I know when I was a student, I checked my emails religiously, maybe too much. All right, next question from Vicky. Were you teaching full-time students when you did these assignments, undergrad or grad students? And how could you see this working for non-traditional students who have families and jobs during the day?
Great question. So there's two groups. So I created an online version of this. We have online students, tens of thousands of online students. And we're finding with our social media marketing emphasis that we're getting more non-marketing majors taking this class than our marketing majors. And so I get students from like welding, I get students from exercise physiology, and some of these programs have made this class mandatory part of their curriculum. And so for this that I showed you today, is we're full-time this undergrad students. I think you could take and add layers to it for a grad level. But it's the same online, but from online, I changed the deadlines a little bit. I may give them a week, but for my face-to-face students that I know that are in class and most of them have jobs, it's still 24 hours. Now you don't have to be mean like me. They told me I was a bully one semester and they told me I was playing dirty pool with them, but sometimes I'll give them 48 hours. But I try to put as much pressure on them as possible, because I find when I do that, the performance increases and the quality of work increases because it's real, it's a real business. And so you can change the deadlines and the parameters and you can add to it whatever you want.
Awesome, thank you. Meg asked if you would be sharing your syllabus or these assignment documents. Would you be open to that?
Can I send them to you and have you send them out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just take the Taylor Swift stuff out. You can talk about the case study. Do what you want. I just don't want someone to get sued because Taylor Swift had a Bowie bag.
All right, yeah, definitely. Those will be included in the recordings on our webinar archive page when they get posted. Okay, Melinda asked, do you use the entire semester for the simulation and cases? My students suggested doing the simulation and working with an actual client all in one semester.
Great question. So, well, I've experimented with this. I've ran the simulation for an entire semester. And then this semester, we tried something different. We ran it for the first 3 weeks. And I find that I've got to run it a little bit longer because I wasn't able to include these assignments to give them this experience. And so I do run it, but once I get to a point, I think what I'm going to do is in our social media marketing class, when we're done with the simulation, we go into Facebook ads, and we've created an entire curriculum around Facebook ads, and we make students in the syllabus, they have to have $10 of their own money to play the game. And then we went out to organizations on our campus. So like we have a marketing society. So my class is in charge of the social media marketing for the marketing society. And they have to go and create posts as assignments, and they have to pay paid, and they have to play that game to learn the whole Facebook ads. And so what I'm going to do when I teach this course next is I'm going to run the simulation, and then I'm also going to do incorporate Facebook ads, and I'm going to have to run them simultaneously. I haven't figured that out yet, but I think there's a time and place where you can do a handoff and can run both, especially after you talk about how the paid and organic post work. I think you could insert the Facebook ad stuff there and run them both. But the goal is not to burn them out.
Awesome, thank you. All right, one last question. What is the title or the content of the overall course in which you use this?
Okay, so it's an entry-level social media marketing course. It's just called social media marketing. We're a new major on campus, and so we're still trying to define all of the courses, and our university has some different ideas in terms of what required courses are versus major courses versus electives. And so I think what we're going to have to do is create another advanced social media course, but this is just the regular social media marketing course.
Okay, thank you. That was for Michael. If you have a more general course, Michael, you could probably do the Mimic Pro simulation and then take these very similar social ideas using the Buoy brand for your class if you want it to be a little more general of a digital marketing course. All right, thank you, Jack, so much for your presentation today. That was really fun to listen to. Stu came in the comments. Let's settle this once and for all. Buoy or Buoy to pronounce Buoy. I believe it's Buoy.
Buoy. It's not Buoy.
Yeah, so now you know, guys, if your students start saying it wrong, you can correct them. Straight from student headquarters, it's Buoy.
My son works at Stu Kent, and I got in an argument with him about how we said it, and I said it was the wrong way, so I lost.
Yeah, we love Jackson here. All right, some couple announcements before we head off to the next keynote. The $1,000 flight voucher and boot camp winners will be announced at the end of our sessions today with Kristen at around 12:45. It's 8:54 here, so in about 3-4 hours. Tune in to see if you won.
Oh, Abigail, can I say one more thing? If you go to Google, go to YouTube and type Buoy, and some of my students have posted some of their videos out there.
Yeah.
You can go and look at some of the crazy stuff they've done. I had one student lose a drone in a waterfall. And really, they take it serious.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, in between your break, between this one and the next, Google or YouTube some Buoy, and maybe you'll find Jack's students on there. All right, see you guys.
Thanks, everybody.